The air was cold, the walls were made of black metal. Lights flickered. It smelled like chemicals and old blood. In the middle of the dark room, there were cages, dozens of them. Some were empty, some had dead bodies. But one cage was different. Inside it was a girl. She looked about 16 or 17 years old. Her skin was pale, her body was thin, too thin. She wore no clothes, just dirt, wounds, and dried blood. Her hair was messy, hanging over her face, but the strange thing about her was her eyes. They were silver. Glowing a little, even in the dark, she did not speak, she did not move. She just sat there, knees to her chest, like a broken toy left behind. Suddenly the door opened. A man entered. He wore black armor and carried a gun. He was human. His name was Jack Vaughan, a soldier from Earth. He was part of a secret mission. The mission was simple: find the alien lab. Take any tech. Leave fast, but Jack wasn't ready for what he saw. He looked at the girl. His eyes widened. "What the hell?" he whispered. He walked closer, slowly. The girl lifted her head. Their eyes met. She didn't say anything, but a single tear ran down her dirty cheek. Jack stopped. Something about her didn't feel normal. She looked scared, but also calm, like she had cried too much to cry more. He checked the control panel on the cage. It wasn't locked by normal means. Alien tech. But Earth soldiers were trained for this. In 30 seconds. The cage clicked open. The girl didn't move. Jack spoke softly. "Hey, it's okay. I won't hurt you." Still, she said nothing. But her silver eyes didn't leave his face. Then, slowly, she stood. Her legs shook. She could barely walk. Jack quickly took off his jacket and gave it to her. She wrapped it around her body like a blanket. "Can you talk?" Jack asked. No answer. "Do you have a name?" She shook her head. Jack looked around. "We need to go, now." Suddenly, a red light flashed. The room filled with noise, alarm. The girl's body tensed. She grabbed Jack's arm, tight. Her eyes glowed brighter for a second. Jack pulled out his gun. Time to run. They ran through the dark halls. Behind them, metal doors opened. Heavy footsteps followed, alien guards. Tall, with long arms and sharp weapons. The girl didn't scream, she didn't cry. She just followed Jack, holding the jacket close. They reached the exit door. Jack pressed a button on his wrist. His ship, a small fighter, came to life outside, but then something strange happened. The girl turned back. She touched the wall with her hand. Symbols appeared. Glowing, floating alien letters. Jack stared. "How did you do that?" The girl whispered something. It didn't sound human. It was a strange alien language. The door behind them boomed. Guards were almost there. Jack grabbed her hand. "Come on." They jumped into the ship. Jack started the engine. Lasers hit the ground around them. The ship took off. From the sky, Jack looked down at the lab. "What the hell was that place?" he said. He looked at the girl. She sat quietly, watching the stars. Still holding the jacket? Still silent. Jack turned on the ship's med scanner. A blue light scanned her body. Scan result: subject DNA, 61% human, 39% unknown origin memory. Damage, 72% brain activity. Unstable. Jack frowned. "Part human, what's the rest?" The girl looked at him. She finally spoke. Her voice was soft, almost broken. Just 3 words: "Who am I?" Jack had no answer, but he made a promise to himself. He would find out. He would protect her. No matter what, because something told him. This girl was not just a prisoner. She was important. Maybe even the most important life form in the galaxy, and someone had gone to great lengths to keep her in that cage. Asterisk. The ship shook as it flew through the dark sky, stars flashing outside like tiny fires. The sound of the engines. Loud, like a beast breathing. The girl sat in the corner, still wearing Jack's black jacket. Eyes wide, hair messy, face empty. She looked like she had been broken many times, but still holding the pieces together. Jack sat in the pilot seat, hands moving fast over the controls, his face tense, sweat on his forehead. His eyes kept looking at her, then back to the screen. Red lights blinked, warning danger nearby. Alien signals not far behind, chasing fast, too fast. He spoke into the comms, but no one answered. The other Earth ships were out of range or maybe gone. The mission was supposed to be easy sneak and take alien data leave, but now he had something else, someone else. He looked at her again, wanted to ask questions, but didn't know where to start. Who are you? Where are you from? What did they do to you? But she looked away each time he opened his mouth, like she didn't want to remember. She stood slowly, walked to the window, stared into space. Her fingers touched the glass like she was feeling the stars. Her breath left a fog print on the glass. Her silver eyes glowing a little. Jack whispered, "Do you understand me?" She nodded once slowly, still watching the stars like they were old friends. Then she said a word, something soft in a language Jack had never heard. It sounded like music mixed with sadness. He checked the ship scanner again. Something wasn't right. Alien ships were gaining ground too. Fast, almost like they could track them even through stealth mode. How is that possible? Unless someone left a signal, unless someone was a signal. He turned to her, voice hard now. What did you do? She didn't move, didn't speak, just turned around and looked at him. Her eyes no longer soft, now sharp like a knife made of light. Jack grabbed his sidearm slowly, careful, ready just in case, but not aiming yet. He didn't want to hurt her, but he couldn't take a chance, not now, not after what he saw back in the lab, the glowing marks, the symbols, the way she spoke to the walls like they were alive. He asked again, "What are you?" This time she stepped forward slowly, raised her hand, pointed at the scanner. Jack looked and saw it glowing again. Her presence was causing it to spike, data flooding in too fast. The screen blinked red, blue, green numbers, too large for any human file. She said, "I am not a signal, but they put one inside me when I was small. They marked my blood with it so they would always know where I'm always find me, never let me go." Jack felt cold, his mouth dry. He asked, "Can we turn it off?" She shook her head. "If you try, I will die. It is in my heart and my bones. If it stops, my body stops too." Outside, the scanner beeped faster. Alien ships closer now, 1, 2, 3, maybe more, moving like sharks hungry for something they lost. Jack turned the ship fast, flew into a narrow path between space rocks. Sharp turns, engine burning, but the girl didn't fall. She stood strong like gravity. Didn't matter, like fear was a story from long ago. He thought maybe she was made for this. Maybe she wasn't just a prisoner. Maybe she was a weapon or a key or both. Then suddenly she touched the wall again, just like in the lab, and again symbols glowed, this time brighter, longer lines across the metal. Her hand shaking, her voice whispering words that bent the air. The ship changed speed, blinked forward like it jumped without jumping. Stars bent around it. The alien ships behind suddenly vanished like a curtain fell between them, and the chase ended. Jack stared. "What did you do?" She sat down now, breathing heavy, her face pale. "That was my last gift from the lab," she said. "I used it all now. I am empty." Jack moved closer, helped her sit up. She was shaking, cold but not afraid. Maybe for the first time, maybe she felt something else. He asked, "Do you remember your name?" She looked at him, blank, like the word name had no meaning. Then slowly she said, "I think it was something with L. Maybe Lara, maybe Lonnie. I don't know. It's gone." Jack whispered, "Then we'll find you a new one. Or maybe we'll find the old one together." She smiled just a little, her first smile, soft, small, like a flower growing in dust. But then the ship screen flashed again. New alert, unknown energy ahead. Not alien, not human, something else. Jack stood up, checked the map. There was nothing there. No planets, no bases, just a signal, weak, strange, calling out over and over one word, "Come." He looked at the girl. She was already standing again, silver eyes glowing just a little, and she said, "I think they want me to return." Jack said, "Do you want to?" She didn't answer. "Not yet, maybe not ever." The signal kept calling. Jack changed course. The next chapter had already started, and they were flying straight into it. The stars moved slower now, or maybe it just felt that way. The girl sat near the ship's screen, staring at the signal that kept calling her again and again, like a whisper from a dream, like someone far away remembering her name before she could remember it herself. Jack watched her. He did not ask questions this time, not yet. He waited, let her breathe, let her mind settle like dust after a storm, because he saw the lines under her eyes and the shaking in her hands, and he knew too much noise might break her again. She spoke first, her voice soft like a thread in wind. "That place we are going, I don't know it, but it knows me. I can feel it inside my bones like a map written in fire." Jack nodded, checked the fuel, checked the radar. The ship was quiet, nothing chasing them now, only one signal ahead, strange, soft, always repeating the same frequency, steady like a heartbeat. He asked, "Do you want to turn back?" She said, "No, not yet, maybe never. I need to see it, even if it hurts." The ship moved Forward space around them, wide and silent stars blinking like slow thoughts, memories maybe, or ghosts. They reached the source of the signal, not a planet, not a station. Just a floating metal sphere, black, smooth, glowing from inside like something alive, trying to stay asleep. The girl stood without fear, eyes glowing just a little more. Her hands touched the glass of the ship as they got closer. She said, "I know this place, but I don't know why." Jack landed the ship carefully. No guns, no shouting. Just silence, like a prayer. The sphere opened without touch, like it wanted her to enter, like it had been waiting inside. The air was warm, lights moved along the walls like rivers of color. The floor pulsed with sound, not noise, not music, just something. In between, the girl walked first. Jack followed, his hand close to his weapon, but not drawn yet. She moved like she belonged there, like her feet remembered steps from long ago. They reached a chamber wide, tall, full of floating lights. Each one showed a shape, a symbol, a number. Jack looked closer and saw images, files, test logs, video clips, and in the center a cryo tube glowing gold and soft inside. It was another version of her smaller, younger eyes, closed hair floating like it had never known. Dust. Jack stepped back confused, then looked at the real girl and saw her face was calm. "That is me," she said, or was. "I don't know which one is real, or if I was ever real at all." The lights changed. A video began. A woman in a white lab coat, smiling. Tired eyes, saying subject LX79, human hybrid, growth rate 4x, enhanced memory. Partial control over energy fields, early success, higher than any test before. The girl watched her hands shaking. The woman in the video said, "Her name is Lyra. I gave her that name, not the generals, not the scientists. It is a name for a person, not a weapon." Jack watched the girl's face change. A tear left her eye, not from fear, but from something deeper, from knowing someone once cared. More files showed men shouting. Data charts flashing, red explosions, sirens, then darkness, then silence. The last video showed the same woman crying, whispering, "If someone finds her, please tell her she is more than what we made. Please tell her she is not a mistake." The screen went black. The room dimmed. The girl said, "I was made, not born. My blood is not just blood, it is a code, a key to something I don't remember." Jack stepped forward, said, "I don't care what they made you. I only care what you choose now." She smiled again. This one, stronger, like a piece of her, found its place. She looked at the cryo tube and said, "Let it rest. I don't need it anymore. I am here now." The chamber lights faded. The signal stopped. The ship outside blinked once, as if sensing the end of a story, or maybe the start of a new one. They walked back together, silence between them, but it was not empty. It was full of thoughts, full of questions, full of quiet strength inside the ship. Jack ran another scan, more detailed, deeper this time. The system picked up hidden layers in her blood, something artificial but also alive, moving, changing, learning. It showed energy waves forming inside her, patterns like code shifting, forming new shapes, as if reacting to emotions or thoughts. She saw it too and whispered, "Maybe I was not only made to be found, maybe I was made to find something else." Jack asked, "What do you think that is?" She looked at him, eyes bright, not with light but with purpose, and said, "Maybe I am the first. Maybe there are others. Maybe they are waiting. Maybe I am the map outside." The stars were quiet, but the silence felt ready, like something was listening. Jack looked at her and said, "Then let's go find out." And the ship turned toward the unknown asterisk. The stars were not moving anymore. They just hung there like frozen sparks, like time forgot to pass, like something was waiting for breath to return. The girl sat near the ship's power core, hands on her knees, eyes closed, face calm like water before the storm. Jack watched from the corner, checking wires, adjusting settings, trying to act busy, but his mind kept returning to her, kept asking the same question again and again. What is she really, and what happens when she stops pretending to be small? She opened her eyes without warning, stood up, walked to the window, stared at the emptiness, her silver eyes not glowing now, just watching, just listening. Jack walked over, slow voice, careful, like speaking to a dream. "Are you okay?" She nodded, but then shook her head, then said softly, "Something is coming, not behind, not ahead, not outside. It is inside, and it is loud." He looked around, checked the ship scanner. Nothing there, no enemy, no signal, no warning, just empty space. But her face told a different story. She stepped back, leaned against the cold wall, fingers tapping like they were remembering something she never chose to learn but could not forget. Then it started. The ship lights blinked, power dropped, temperature dropped, metal groaned, something deep inside the Ship whispered a wordless scream, and the scanner blinked red. Jack rushed to the controls. Read the alert. One ship incoming, no two, no three, no way to run, no place to hide. They were in open space like ants on a plate. The girl did not move her breath. Steady, but her hands shaking just a little, just enough to show the storm was close. He grabbed his rifle, checked the rounds, looked at her, said, if they board this ship, we fight together. She looked at him, then at the gun, then at her own hands, then whispered, I do not need that. The alien ships appeared, dark long wings like knives, no windows, no marks. Just silence and power and death. They circled like wolves, patient, fast, cruel. One of them locked on a beam of green light, hit the side of the ship. Small damage, but enough to shake the floor, make the walls scream, make Jack curse, and grab the girl's arm to pull her toward the safe chamber. She did not move. She pulled her arm back, stepped into the center of the room, her eyes opened wide, silver. Now not just glowing, but burning like twin moons filled with fire. Jack called her name, or what he thought was her name, but she did not hear, or maybe did not care. Maybe in that moment she was not the girl he saved, not the girl in the cage. Maybe she was the storm that Cage had tried to hold. Her feet left the floor, just a little hair rising, lights around her, flickering scanner going. Crazy numbers jumping beyond logic, beyond human. The alien ships charged up again, ready to fire a second shot. A stronger one, but she raised her hand and everything stopped. Time did not freeze, it broke, twisted, cracked, bent like glass under heat. The stars shifted, space folded, the alien ships trembled, not from damage, but from something worse, from fear. Jack could feel it, his breath stuck, his hands numbed, the ship vibrating like a drum before a war call, and she stood in the center of it like a god no one prayed to, because no one knew she was real. She whispered a word, maybe in that same soft language he heard before, and the nearest alien ship cracked, not from outside, but from inside, as if its own metal wanted to escape, as if it forgot how to hold shape, how to be alive. The second ship fired a pulse. She caught it, not with her hands, but with something around her, something invisible, something waiting and hungry. She turned the energy like water, redirected. It sent it back, and the second ship disappeared into dust. The third ship ran, vanished into warp space, gone without a trace. Silence returned, slow, heavy. The lights came back, power restored, the cold faded. Jack stood, frozen, heart racing, staring at her like he was seeing her for the first time again. She dropped to her knees, the light in her eyes gone, chest rising fast, skin pale, sweat on her forehead, blood from her nose, but she smiled a little, like something inside her was proud or maybe relieved. Jack rushed to her, held her up, checked her pulse, spoke fast. Are you okay? What was that? What did you do? She coughed, weak but calm. I remembered a part of me, a part they tried to bury, they made me to destroy, I think, but they failed. I am more. Jack looked into her tired eyes, said, that was not human. She nodded. That was not alien either, that was something in between. He helped her to the seat, gave her water, wrapped her in a heat blanket, told her to rest, and she did not sleep, but she closed her eyes and whispered again, not to him, not to anyone, just to herself, I am not the weapon, I am the warning, and somewhere far away another ship received the echo of that power, and someone said she is awake. The sky outside was darker now, or maybe it was her eyes that had changed, maybe the stars just looked smaller when the truth started getting closer, and the past was no longer behind but waiting just ahead. The girl stood near the map screen, hands resting against the glass, silver eyes searching, not for enemies, not for hope, just for answers, and Jack watched her without speaking, because something in her silence felt heavier than space itself. They had been flying for hours, maybe more, through quiet zones, through broken signals, until the ship found it, a red dot on the far side of Mars' orbit, hidden behind dust clouds marked as dead years ago, forgotten, erased, but she remembered it, not with words, not with images, just with pain, a pressure in her chest like a closed door suddenly turning warm again. That place, she said, that place is mine, or was. Jack checked the log, said it used to be a research base shut down after an explosion, no survivors listed, no files recovered, just one message sent in panic, then silence. He looked at her, asked, are you sure? And she nodded, eyes sharp, voice soft, I'm not sure of anything but my blood. Is they landed the ship on red dust, wind howling around the hull, sky above the color of rust. The lab was half buried in stone, broken walls covered in ash, metal doors bent but still standing like bones of something that refused to stay dead. She stepped out, first feet touching Mars, like it remembered her, like gravity wanted her back. Jack followed, gun ready but not raised eyes scanning the broken landscape, hearing only his own breath and her silence. The door opened for her, not with force, not with code, just with presence, as if it knew she had come home inside. The air was thin, stale filled. With old static, the lights flickered weakly, broken screens hung from the ceiling, sparks falling like tears. The walls were marked with faded symbols, some human, some not. They walked through empty halls, past old chairs, rusted tables, dried bloodstains. Frozen time, whispers of screams that once echoed here, now lost to dust. She stopped near a small room, the door half closed, her hand touched it, and her fingers shook just once before pushing it open. Inside was a nursery, but not for babies, for test subjects, small beds, small machines, walls covered in notes, growth charts, injection logs. DNA strands spinning in holograms, her name listed again and again, not as a person but as a number. LX79. She stepped forward, looked at a chair with straps, a screen above it flashing old memory patterns, brainwave maps. She sat in that chair. Once she remembered, now not the pain but the voice that told her stories while the machines worked. A soft hum came from the far wall, a light turned on, and a video began. It showed a woman, mid-30s, tired face, kind eyes, dark hair tied back, wearing a white coat. Her voice broke as she spoke. If you are seeing this, then you found your way back. I don't know if you are alone, I don't know if you are angry, but I hope you remember one thing. I gave you a name before they gave you a number. I called you Lyra. The girl stood frozen, mouth open, but no sound coming out as the woman continued. They told me not to get attached, but you were never just a project to me. You were a child with light in her eyes. Even when she cried, I sang to you. I told you about Earth. I promised you would one day be free. Jack stepped back, gave her space, watched her hands clench, watched the pain rise in her throat like a scream stuck too deep to come out. The video showed flames, alarms, people running, the woman looking at the camera one last time. If they find this place, they will erase it all, but maybe you will survive, and if you do, remember you were loved. The screen went black, the room went quiet, except for the sound of her breathing, hard, rough, like each breath had to fight its way through 1,000 walls. She turned away, leaned on the wall, covered her face. The tears came slow, heavy, not like sadness, more like a dam breaking, letting out everything she forgot how to feel. Jack came close, placed his hand on her shoulder, said nothing because words would only make it worse or weaker after. Sometimes she looked up, eyes red but sharp again, and whispered, she died here, didn't she? Jack nodded, probably, but she saved youth. Girl said, not just me, I think she saved something else, something they feared. Jack asked what, and she replied, I don't know yet, but it's inside me, and I think it's waking up. They walked deeper into the lab, into the dark that felt like it was watching them, waiting for her to remember more, waiting to see what kind of light she would bring back. Behind them, the video screen blinked one more time, without sound, without warning, just a frame frozen on the face of a woman who once believed love could survive science. And in front of them, the hallway led to a door marked with the word prototype, but the lock was broken now. She did not hesitate, and the door opened. The door opened without sound, just air rushing out like a sigh, like something inside had been waiting too long to breathe, like the room itself knew she was finally ready. Jack stayed close, but not too close. He knew now this was not his fight, not his memory, not his pain. He was just the one who walked beside her when no one else did. The room was empty and full at the same time, full of wires, full of screens, full of quiet machines that still whispered low code into nothingness. The light was soft blue, slow cold, and the air smelled like metal and lost time. In the center of the room was a platform, and on it sat a suit, not armor, not cloth, something between skin and machine, something shaped for her, made for her, pulsing faintly, like it still remembered her heartbeat. She walked toward it, slow, like in a dream. Her fingers touched it, and the whole room shifted. Screens lit up, walls glowed, files unlocked. Her blood had opened the door, but her choice was what made it stay open. The files played on their own. Her face filled the screens, younger, smaller, afraid, covered in wires, surrounded by people, some human, some not. They spoke in terms that Jack could not understand, but the tone was always the same. Control contained correct. She saw one file labeled Final Protocol. She touched it, and it opened with a whisper, not a click, and what she heard made her knees almost give out. The voice said, if LX79 reaches stage 7 and begins memory return, activate Final Protocol, full neural Unlock full weapon potential. Earth defense priority target class. Omega deploy with or without consent. She stared at the screen, hands shaking, eyes wide. Jack moved to help, but she raised her hand and he stopped, her voice low. I was never supposed to choose. I was never supposed to think, only obey. Jack asked, what does final protocol mean? She answered, it means I end wars. It means I destroy planets. It means I erase the threat, even if the threat is human, even if the threat is me. Jack stared at her, and for the first time he looked afraid, not of her, but of what she might do to herself. She walked to the platform. The suit opened like it had missed her, like it wanted to hold her again. She did not step in, not yet. She looked at Jack and asked, what would you do if you were made to be a monster? Jack answered, I would choose not to be one. She looked down, eyes filled with light, not power, but tears, the kind that carry weight from all the years. She was never allowed to cry. Then the wall shook. A sound like thunder from the sky. Alarms blinked across the lab. A red light flashed. The signal had been found again, but this time it was not calling. This time it was pulling. The sky above Mars tore open. An alien ship unlike any before, dark gold. Wide, alive, like a creature not built but born, it hovered above them like a god waiting to claim its creation. They sent a voice down through the lab, not sound, but thought it filled the room like thick smoke, and said, the key has remembered. Return to us, and we will make the pain stop. She stood still, eyes closed, listening to the voice that once commanded her, now begging, now threatening. Jack shouted, we need to run, we need to go now, but she did not move. She whispered, I remember now what they did, what I did, how many lives I touched, how many I ended, but I also remember her, the woman who named me, the woman who loved me. She said, I was more, and I want to be more. The voice filled the room again. Return, or all will fall. We created you, we own you. On, she answered with no fear. You made me, but you never owned mesh. Stepped into the suit. It wrapped around her like light, soft and strong. Her feet lifted. Her hands glowed. Her hair rose. Her silver eyes turned into stars, and for the first time the room felt warm. Jack asked, what now? And she said, now I choose. An alien ship sent down beams of fire. Mars shook, rocks fell, the lab cracked, but she walked through the storm like it was just weather, her voice loud. Now clear, now I choose Earth. I choose people who fight for others, not control. I choose not to destroy, but to protect. She rose into the sky, straight into the fire, her hands out, energy dancing around her. The beams hit her but did not burn her. Instead they broke around her like waves around stone. The ship tried to flee, but she reached it in one breath, in one blink, and touched it, and it stopped, not broken, not dead, just silent, as if it finally heard the truth. Jack watched from the ground, watched her float above the fire and ruin like something no longer afraid of what she could. Beatty lab behind him collapsed, but he did not run. He stood and whispered her name. The real one, the human one, the one she chose, Lyra. And in the sky she heard it, and she smiled. The sky was not red anymore, not black either. It had turned into something in between, like fire holding hands, with smoke like light learning to be quiet, like the world holding its breath and waiting. She hovered above the ruins, her body glowing soft and silver. The suit wrapped around her like memory, like a second skin born from pain, but now shaped by choice. Her eyes scanned the sky, the ground, the silence, but the real battle was still inside. Jack called her name, Lyra, the name that once felt strange, but now sounded like home. She looked down, saw him standing among the broken stones, the cracked walls, the shattered past, and in that one look she remembered everything worth saving. The alien ship hung above them, frozen, not dead, not gone, just still, like it had been told a story it never wanted to hear, like a god learning it was not the only one anymore. She whispered to it through thought, not words. I am not your weapon. I am not your mistake. I am not your tool. I am not yours. The ship responded with silence, but silence is not surrender, and inside it a new energy grew, not fire, not light, something worse, something final. She turned to Jack, voice in his mind soft and full. This is not over. Something deeper is waking inside it. Something older than both of us, something made to erase and restart, and it is coming. Jack shouted then, get back, we'll run, we'll hide, we'll fight again. But she shook her head slowly. No more running, no more hiding, no more waiting. The sky cracked. Lightning without thunder. The alien ship split open like a wound, and from it came a form, not a machine, not a beast, something in between, tall as a mountain, but without shape, eyes in places that should not have eyes, hands that did not hold but pulled the air, bent around it, the stars flickered, and she knew this was the true reason she was made it. Had no name, only function, and its function was to reset all life. It did not hate, it did not feel, it only ended. She flew toward it, not fast, not wild, calm, like water meeting fire, like truth meeting silence. Her suit burned brighter. Her blood sang inside her veins, the code unlocked, not to destroy, but to protect it. Spoke to her in thoughts older than language, returned to function, accept design. Let all things end. Then she answered in light and will and sorrow, I will not, and I am not yours. She reached its heart, or what should have been a heart, and placed her hand on it, and in that moment she gave it everything, not power, not force, not rage, but memory. She gave it the sound of her mother's voice, the weight of a human name, the feeling of warmth, the shape of tears, the strength of defiance, the taste of love and loss and choice. The creature screamed, but not in pain and confusion. It could not process what had no logic. It could not erase what did not fit its design. She was not a line of code. She was not a weapon. She was a soul, and it broke trying to understand. Jack watched from below, eyes wide, heart frozen, as the sky filled with light, white gold, endless. For one breath the stars vanished, and in their place only her form, shining bright above the dark. And then quiet, the sky healed, the creature gone, not killed, not erased, just silenced, folded into something smaller, something sleeping, maybe forever, maybe not. The suit fell empty toward the ground. Jack ran, caught it, held it, but she was not inside. Only light remained, like the end of a song, like the last page of a book that had written itself. He whispered her name again and again and again, hoping maybe she would answer from the air, from the stone, from the dust, but there was only the wind and a single tear falling down his face, as if she had passed it to him as the last thing she gave. Years passed, and Earth remembered her, not as a weapon, not as a warning, not as a code, but as a girl who chose. Jack returned to Earth. Older, quieter, he built a garden where the stars could be seen clearly every night, and in the center he placed a small stone. It had no body beneath it, just her name carved in light, Tel Ir, and below it the words, she was more